Now, it's actually been a while since the last episode.
I know what that noise means.
And this bike didn't even have a functioning ignition.
You ready for the money shot?
This one will do that.
Considering these bikes' forks not long ago were bent as all shit.
My money don't jiggle jiggle, it falls.
But that all changes today. Now, currently this workshop is... well, it's kind of a mess. So the plan was to move all the stuff that I bought from the seller over to the other side of the bike. That way I have some free space to move about in and not have to clamber about. I also then moved the cans that my qualified mechanic mate left behind. Now, I've got the setup in a... well, it's already looking much better now, ain't it? So, I actually managed to... well, a friend of mine actually helped me with figuring out how to get the indicator fixed again, so it's actually not as hard as I made out to be. Essentially, you have this little squishy bit at the start. You then sandwich that between these two prongs, screw it all down, screw it back together, and presto, you've got a working indicator. It does mean, however, taking this off was a complete waste of time. So I might put it back, or I might at least fix up the chrome first and then go from there. Now, unfortunately, I actually did not manage to fix the scratches on that chrome disc. So I aim to reassemble it all back together before placing it back onto the bike. It was a bit fiddly to put the globe back into its housing, and even then I realized I did miss something. Bit worried, I can't remember what this part was for, but considering that I've only got this plus these bolt ones left, which are for the brackets here, I might have to check parts diagrams just so I don't potentially, well, make a bigger mistake than I already have. Now, before I continue on with anything else, I might quickly just address something. See, I had a couple of mates come over yesterday and they sort of had some fun helping me take off the forks, and my other friend who helped me to fix the clutch cover here, and they happened to have given me this. So as a birthday present, my friends went out and bought me a ratchet set with the appropriate sockets and hex bits, plus spanners as well to go along with it. So I'm sure that this will now come in handy and prevent me from banging my head against a wall when I realize I don't have the appropriate tool for the job. Now boys, I know you're watching this video, so I just want to say a big thanks and shout out to you, because you've just made my life easier. Thank you for that. Now, a lot actually has happened since the last video posted. See, the very following day I managed to go to the place to get the spare parts. So I managed to acquire 2 new forks that aren't as boomerang shaped as the last 2. I got a new clutch case, which has some potential scratches and just doesn't look as nice, so I might potentially salvage that one instead. I got the signal generator assembly, including this part, which, if you remember from the previous video, in the signal rotor middle bracket pit here, that was going to cost me about $100 for that tiny little part. Now, I had a mate come around beforehand, and he was kind enough to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the bolts here. This one being a massive pain in the ass. He also mentioned that this hole here perhaps could be repaired, and perhaps that we don't have to take this entire thing off, not having to buy a new gasket, and so on. Still missing the cover that for the signal generator assembly, which is primarily just to keep dust and other crap out, since this will not be filling up with oil. It just means that I still got to source that part, but I do have another guy who might have it, so I'm just waiting for him to come back from his holiday so I can inquire about that. So until I get the fork oil plus a soldering iron that I can then connect the wires up here, I'm going to put this on hold for a bit. So I can start with the Kawasaki. Now, as mentioned in the previous video, I did manage to acquire a bunch of fuses so I can get that all sorted. But without bolts or the parts for the ignition, not really much I can do. That all changes though today. A fuel cap, an ignition barrel, and the rear seat barrel, as well as 2 keys to go along with it. So now I just gotta put the bloody thing on. So back at it with the Kawasaki, just trying to get all the bolts and nuts off so I can then actually get to that rear barrel. Though I did have a little bit of hiccups here and there. Oh shit. Yeah, so from what I can see, the old one, while completely in its, well, let's just say it's been seen better days, doesn't have the holes here threaded, which means I can't actually screw the bolts in. I need to go get a thread tap and get on with that, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. So another trip to Bunnings, and I acquired a tap and some putty for the Suzuki. Yep, looks like we're good to go then. Whoops. Okay, well, I've already made a fuck up. I've dropped a bolt somewhere in here. So that's going to be a... Oh, where the that could have gone anywhere. Shit. Okay, I think I got not the bolt out, but no, never mind, stuck again. Absolute bastard. Okay, I've got another bit of what looks like plastic from fairing. That actually might go where the key for the rear one. How much more fucking flakes of shit do you have on you? So during my fishing trip, I did manage to acquire the bolt that I dropped underneath the battery casing. Afterwards, I then put that all together so I could then get the rear barrel all sorted. Gonna call that a success. Is it supposed to go this way, or am I retarded? Oh no, that's fine. I'm guessing myself now. I don't know why. This screw hole can only be in one place. This is the most retard-proof part of this entire project. Is this not shit? Should be okay. So now I have to take this off, and I have no idea how to do it as of yet. So give me 5.
Inside the guts of your motorcycle's key switch, it looks kind of like this.
Oh, I see the problem now. I think they did try to take this off, and I think they broke off a hex socket in there. Oh, what fucking assholes. Now, I did try to fish out for those hex bits without having to take the top of the clamp off, but I ended up just biting the bullet and having to remove the top clamp. I had to first take off the clip-ons. And after managing to get all those off, I then realized there was going to be another hurdle to overcome there, which you'll see me struggle with shortly. No, that's way too big. Just come on, boys, don't fail me now. I'm feeling 24. Nope. I'm feeling 22. I think it did shit. How much fucking torque is on this goddamn thing? I forgot how many rounds we've been so far, but fucking hell, that's a... Oh, fuck. All right. Just hopefully maybe lubricate this. I'll come back to you later. It's big boys time. Come on! Oh, I actually got it. Nice. I honestly had no fucking hope in hell that I was going to get this, but everything's coming up Millhouse. So I should probably explain what I meant before. You might be able to see here on camera, but both of these hex bolts have actually got what looks like an Allen key stuck in them, hence why I wasn't able to get them out from when I was on the bike. So I'm going to have to figure out a game plan on how to get these out. It might be hard to see on camera, but I have made some progress with this. I'm just going to need a drill bit extractor so I can get these out. Now at this point I've managed to drill 2 holes where someone obviously snapped off a hex nut in there. The next step is to drill it all through. I can use the extractors to then pull those bolts right out. So I hope to God this works. Oh, I think it's actually working. Oh, nice. Nice. So, I've got this now free. Thank God, because it was giving me the shit. And I've got the dodgy one off now. Which means I need to install this one. Happy days. Problem solved? Maybe? I don't know. We'll figure it out together. Actually, I think the clip is slightly... Yeah. That clip got damaged. Shit. Another clip that broke off is somewhere in the ether. Will come back to haunt me later. So the ignition, the fuel cap, and the rear barrel over there are now all connected. So I'm going to plug it in, do all the fuses, and who knows what's going to happen. So I managed to fit all the appropriate fuses into the fuse box. I then screwed down the bolts onto the battery points and attached the clip-ons back onto the top of the clamp. Yeah, that's fine enough. Doesn't have to be tight. This has to be enough to hold in place. Oh, that's where I put you. Just wondering where I put this again. So I put the tachometer back on, attaching the speedometer and the additional plug so I could then give the bike a test with the new ignition barrel. Nice. We're off to a good start. I'm liking where this is going. And nothing. Maybe we don't have enough power to start this. Does the kickstand have something to do with it? It might have. Give me a sec. Pattern technique. Along with my other dodge. Shit, that's not long enough. There's a sensor on these. I actually haven't checked, so... it's not like this thing was doing much anyway. Now it seems here we're actually quite low on fuel. Not really sure why that's the case. Got most of it out, and we'll call that success. Sure, it's all fine. Okay, we're gonna go for round 2. Oop, the horn works at least. Oh yeah, that would probably work if I actually had the indicators connected in. Oh nice, smart. Surprisingly, I'm struggling more with this than anything else. Oh, there we go. Let's give it all a shot. Now, if I brake, is the person going behind me going to slam onto my ass? Nope. Now, we've got some coolant on the floor here, which is never a good sign. Usually should be inside the bike, not out. I might mention that it might be because of this little part here. I forget what it's called, but I'm sure it's important. Though, I'm not seeing where that leaking could be, because that seems quite dry and crusty. Now, there's actually not that much petrol in this bike, but I figured it'd be enough because I couldn't extract every single bit of it. I actually did a pretty good job, not gonna lie. So I could either put some more of the old gas in, though that might be short-term success. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. Oh, fuck it. Even with petrol in, the bike still didn't start, so I ended up removing the petrol I had put in and decided to take the tank off to make it easier for me to locate the wiring harness. Afterwards, I just labeled the hoses connected to the tank just so I would remember in the future to put them back in. So currently I have the fuel tank off. That way it makes it easier to navigate the bike, but more specifically so I can actually find the port for the FI light that's on the tachometer. Now, this was one of the many mistakes I made on this project. You see, the FI light I thought that was on the tachometer was not that. See, this bike has a carburetor, not a fuel injector, which means that DFI port that I was looking for does not exist. So I ended up just floundering around wondering where the hell is this port on the bike. Now currently I'm just looking up the wiring diagram to figure out, well, where everything is, especially where does the ignition switch trace back to. Unfortunately, the diagram I got is actually for the fuel injection model, which is what was more commonplace in Europe. Now I ended up buying the carburetor service manual and realized that a lot of the specs were different, so it was a good thing that I decided to buy that and not continue further until I got it. I also had the problem trying to get the spark plug out, considering it was quite deep in the engine block, so I struggled with that for a bit. Well, to the rescue again. Now, even though I managed to get the spark plug untightened, I still ran into another issue. Right, so I'm currently having issues trying to fish out the spark plug, so be right back. So after I acquired my magnetic fishing pole, I decided to get that spark plug right out. There we go. So I managed to finally fish out that spark plug, and yeah, it doesn't look good. Basically, the tip is a bit black and charred, as opposed to its more milky, creamy color, more brownish it's supposed to be. So these want to be replaced, but thankfully they're actually quite cheap, so that's not a big problem. Whereas the ignition coil, on the other hand, is a little bit more expensive. In the meantime, I'm just going to put this cover back on so I don't let any more crap into the cylinder head. But I'm obviously going to have to organize to get a new ignition coil, as well as a spark plug. Which means the next step is to check the other side and see if there's any damage on that one. Yep, it's just as bad. This is from the right-hand side, and this was giving me readings either from the primary and secondary winding resistance within about 30 kilo ohms, which this one usually requires about 10 to 16,000 kilo ohms, and that just requires about 2.1 to 3.2, according to the service manual. I think this one is definitely buggered. This one just doesn't have a reading at all. There's an open line read is what I get, which just basically means that there is no connection. So this one probably just got burnt out. Basically, we've just confirmed that the ignition coil is toast. However, we still haven't confirmed if the kill switch and anything else is broken. It wasn't the ignition coil that was the issue. Whoops. See, I sent my friend an image of the readings for the ignition coil. He seemed a bit skeptical about all that and was interested to come over later that day. So of course I took him up on that offer because I'm stupid. And he was kind enough to come around and actually do some probing with the wiring. And the real issue behind it all makes me feel really stupid that I didn't check it beforehand. Introducing the handsome boy that saved me on this project multiple times.
I don't know, you can fill in your own audio.
So Mark actually found that there was a plug that was missing a relay on top of it, which then connected to the starter motor. So obviously we just pinched off the headlight one because, well, it wasn't really doing anything. Afterwards, it was just a process of putting the bike back together like Humpty Dumpty.
Okay, just put the fuel tank on, ratchet strap, and I'll ride it like it is.
Fuck. So I was fishing the bolt that I lost while Mark was playing about and tipped my camera over. I managed to actually get them out, put them all back together so that we could eventually put the fuel tank back on. Which all it required was a cable, 2 hoses, and some elbow grease to finish it off. Things, so I can, because that goes over there, and then I have to pinch these little boys.
Sorry, what?
This is why I don't go outside. Okay, it just needs a little bit more pinching. Okay, that's fine. That's fine, it's all good. We've got some fuel, just not much.
Yeah, there's a little splash in there.
There's a fair bit.
A little bit of paint varnish. Knocking was shit fuel. That's the sound of shit fuel.
I don't know how old this fuel is, but
Oh, it's paint varnish.
I was gonna make a joke about those people, but I'll definitely get cancelled for that.
Yeah, okay.
You'll be fine.
Did you turn the fuel on with the little switch?
We've got brakes.
Brakes?
Alright, I probably should put that back in neutral. I don't know why I did that. Ooh. Now, Mark was a very happy boy. I was just sitting on back watching the wheels spinning, contemplating how my neighbors are probably wanting to kill me right now for all this noise I'm causing this late at night. Well, I'm calling that a success. That's a wrap.
So's the carbon monoxide.
Now, today was a new day. My first task, getting the handlebar situation sorted. So the next step was to actually remove the handles from the handlebar. Yeah, I know, right? As well as not break anything in the process, which, given my track record, is not looking too good. Now, the throttle side was easy to get off, it just more or less slides off, no problem. The other one, you have to brute force it, just pulling at it like every boy's favorite appendage once they hit puberty. And I managed to acquire some handlebars that aren't as asymmetrical. What we sacrifice in artistic expression, we make up for in practicality and not dying on the roads. Now, I may not be dying on the road anytime soon, but these handlebars are not a one-to-one transfer over from the originals. So putting things back onto it was a hassle, and I was struggling making sure I didn't break anything more than I already had previously. I mean, it's not done, of course, but it's getting there. Little update here. I accidentally pulled this in, and now I've locked the calipers in. Shit. So I decided to ignore that and put the forks on, and this is where I realized I wish I had someone there to help me, because the forks were not an easy task. I even had to take my jacket off in the freezing cold just because I was sweating so much just trying to fit these things into their blasted holes. And for some god-for-known reason, the indicator was giving me the most hassle. The little silicon part was giving me the shits just to try to fit the fork onto it without overlapping it over into the triple clamp. But I finally got that sorted, grabbed the wheel over, and was going to fit that across. And here is where I made my first mistake, which is not to put the front fender on properly, so I had to end up taking that off and get that sorted. Now, after getting the fender back on and trying to fit the wheel through properly while not breaking anything in the process, I managed just to give the front fender a clean to get rid of any vandals graffiti work that was on it. And presto, we have forks that are not as bench-shaped as my penis. Now, currently I've got the forks attached. I still need to do the kickstand as well as solder the signal generator onto the crankcase. Still need to get a cover for that, but that's proving more difficult than it's worth. This kickstand also needs a spring, and I figured I'm going to fashion it out of the free springs I got with the Suzuki when I went to go pick up the parts for that other day. Now, most of the wiring here is fine, generally speaking. I don't really need a headlight. Well, actually, maybe for legal reasons I do, but that's another problem to deal with. Otherwise, I just need to get the upholstery done, fix up the fairings, get all that sorted, and change the oil and everything else. Probably bleed the brakes and change the rear tire, since this boy is from 2014, so he needs to be retired. I also got a bunch of stuff here that I need to sort, like the mirrors and everything else, but otherwise it's more the little finicky work that needs to be done. Also, I managed to acquire a kickstand from the fellow who sold me the forks and miscellaneous, so I can now scratch that off. Thank God. Now, I'm gonna call it today. I think honestly I've done a fair bit of work for this video, and I thankfully got one bike at least working. Surprisingly not the bike that me and my mates were... Well, if we had bets, we would have all lost, let's put it that way. So, next stage of this plan is to get the signal generator installed, which I already have right there. I've just refused to put it on, at least for this video. And get a case for that, which I've still yet to source. Unfortunately, someone came to the seller and he apparently just bought all the parts. So all that was left was basically a tank and something else irrelevant to me. So it's kind of put a dent in my plans, you see. So now I might have to fork out the $80 for this part, which I mentioned before in this video. Otherwise, everything else is more or less just TLCs. Fix the brake caliper, put it on, get the handlebars, everything sorted, and that bike, and this bike, should be a-okay to go. Well then, I'm gonna catch you guys around. Bye for today. Now, if you made it to the end, thank you for watching along. And if you want to keep it updated with this project and how it turns out, do subscribe and you'll get a notification when I post the next video. And leave a comment below if you have anything to say about my conduct with this project, which honestly I would not hold against you if you had any feedback. Otherwise, stay safe out there and yeah, have fun, I guess. I don't know really how to finish this off.